All of this is payment for lies.
The night I discovered my wife was screwing her personal trainer, I was eating a $40 steak and pretending to laugh at her friends' jokes about dark meat. I'm Ethan Drake, and 3 months ago I thought I had it all figured out. Moderately successful actor. You'd recognize me from that cop show that ran for 4 seasons and a handful of decent movies. Not A-list, but comfortable. Real comfortable. The kind of comfortable that buys you a $3 million house in Brentwood. A trophy wife who used to model for Victoria's Secret, and the illusion that you're living the American dream. Savannah Drake, my wife of 18 years, sat across from me at our dining room table, her blonde hair catching the light from our crystal chandelier. At 39, she still turned heads, still had that predatory grace that had first attracted me when I was a struggling actor, waiting tables in West Hollywood. Back then, she was everything I thought I wanted. Now, watching her giggle with her 3 closest friends over wine that cost more than most people's rent, I wondered when exactly she'd become a stranger. "So, Savannah," Layla Martinez was saying, twirling her wine glass, "tell us more about this new fitness routine of yours. You've been glowing lately." Bree Thompson, our neighbor from 2 houses down, leaned forward conspiratorially. "Oh, please, we all know it's not just the workouts making her glow. It's the trainer." My fork paused halfway to my mouth. Savannah blushed prettily, the way she used to when I'd compliment her on set visits early in our marriage. "Marcus is very thorough," she said, and the 3 women erupted in laughter. Tasha Williams, the quietest of the group, spoke up. "I saw him at your gym last week. That man is built like a Greek god. All that dark chocolate muscle." "Tasha," Savannah protested, but she was laughing. "What? I'm just saying, if I had a trainer who looked like that, I'd be very motivated to exercise too." I set down my fork and reached for my wine. "This trainer have a last name?" The table went quiet for a beat. Savannah's smile tightened almost imperceptibly. "Johnson," she said. "Marcus Johnson. He's very professional, honey. I bet he is," I said, keeping my voice light. "Maybe I should meet him sometime. Make sure he's taking good care of my wife." Another uncomfortable silence. Then Layla jumped in. "Oh, Ethan, you're so protective. It's sweet." "Caveman sweet," Bree added. "Very alpha male." They all laughed again, but it felt forced now. I smiled and nodded and played the good husband for the rest of dinner, but something cold had settled in my stomach. Something that had nothing to do with the wine. After they left, Savannah was unusually quiet as we cleaned up. Our daughter Chloe, 17 and sharp as a blade, helped carry dishes to the kitchen. "Mom's friends are so fake," Chloe said, loading the dishwasher. "Especially Layla. Did you hear her going on about that trainer?" "Chloe," Savannah warned. "What? I'm just saying. All that giggling about Marcus this, Marcus that. It's embarrassing." I looked up sharply. "You know this guy?" Chloe glanced at her mother, then back at me. "I've met him a few times when I've gone to the gym with Mom." "He's helping me get back in shape," Savannah said quickly. "I'm not getting any younger, and you know how this town is about aging actresses' wives." It was a good cover. Plausible. Except for one thing. Savannah had never shown any interest in getting back into acting. And she'd always been naturally thin, never needed a trainer before. That night, lying in bed, I stared at the ceiling while Savannah slept beside me. Or pretended to sleep. Her breathing was too controlled, too measured, like she was performing even in unconsciousness. The next morning, she was gone before I woke up. A note on her pillow. "Early session with Marcus. Back by noon. Love you." Love you, not I love you, just love you, like signing a birthday card for a distant relative. I made coffee and sat in my study, looking out at our perfectly manicured backyard. The pool sparkled in the morning sun. The gardeners had been here yesterday. Everything was pristine, beautiful, fake as a movie set. My phone buzzed. Text from my agent, Rick. "Got you a call back for the Netflix thing. Thursday at 2. Don't screw it up." Rick Goldberg had been representing me for 12 years. He was the only person in this town who still talked to me like a human being instead of a commodity. Probably because I was the only client keeping his small agency afloat. I was about to respond when I heard voices from the pool area. Savannah was back and she wasn't alone. Through the window, I watched my wife emerge from the pool house with a man I'd never seen before. Tall, muscular, black, probably in his early 30s. He was carrying a gym bag and wearing workout clothes that probably costed more than most people's car payments. Marcus Johnson, I presumed. They were standing close together, closer than trainer and client should stand. His hand was on her lower back, and she was looking up at him with an expression I hadn't seen her give me in years. Then Chloe appeared from around the side of the house, jogging up to them in her school clothes. "Mom, did you like the surprise I arranged for you last night?" she called out. I couldn't hear Savannah's response, but I saw her stiffen. Marcus glanced toward the house, and I stepped back from the window. When I looked again, they were walking toward the front of the house. A few minutes later, I heard a car start and drive away. Chloe came through the back door, tossing her backpack on the kitchen counter. "Morning, Dad. Mom's not here, is she?" "She just left. With her trainer." "Oh." She grabbed a protein bar from the pantry. "They've been spending a lot of time together lately." "Have they?" She looked at me for a long moment, and I saw something in her eyes. Knowledge. Complicity, maybe. "Dad," she said carefully, "you know Mom loves you, right?" It was such an odd thing to say, so out of nowhere, that I felt that cold feeling in my stomach again. "Of course," I said. "Why would you ask that?" "No reason, just you guys seem distant lately." She kissed my cheek and headed for the front door. "I'm staying at Emma's tonight. Study group." After she left, I sat alone in our 5,000 square foot house and tried to remember the last time Savannah and I had really talked. Not about schedules or household logistics or Chloe's college plans, but actually talked. About dreams, fears, the future. I couldn't. That afternoon, I did something I'd never done in 18 years of marriage. I searched Savannah's things. I started with her dresser, feeling like a criminal. Nothing unusual in the drawers. Expensive lingerie, some of it new and still tagged. Victoria's Secret, La Perla, brands I didn't remember buying for her. Her jewelry box yielded nothing suspicious. Neither did her closet, though I noticed several new workout outfits I'd never seen. I was about to give up when I remembered the pool house. Savannah had been coming out of there this morning with Marcus. The pool house was supposed to be storage and a changing area, but when I opened the door, I found it had been converted into a sort of private gym. Yoga mats, free weights, a sound system. And in a small cabinet, hidden behind towels, I found what I was looking for. A burner phone. My hands shook as I powered it on. No lock screen, which was either careless or arrogant, probably both. The text messages made me physically sick. Marcus. "Can't wait to taste you again." Savannah. "Ethan's at the studio until 8. Come over at 6. Marcus. "What about Chloe?" Savannah. "She's covering for us. Don't worry." The photos were worse. Much worse. My wife in positions I'd only dreamed of, with a man half my age who was built like a superhero. But it was the videos that destroyed me completely. Savannah on our bed, screaming Marcus's name. Telling him things she'd never said to me. Doing things she'd always claimed didn't interest her. And in one of them, I could hear Chloe's voice in the background. "Mom, Dad just texted. He's coming home early." My daughter, my 17-year-old daughter, was their lookout. I sat on the pool house floor, holding that phone, and felt my entire world collapse. 20 years of marriage, 18 years of thinking I knew my wife, 17 years of raising a daughter who was apparently more loyal to her mother's affair than to her father's heart. The phone buzzed in my hand. New message. Marcus. "Your husband suspect anything?" Savannah. "He's clueless, always has been. Too wrapped up in his failing career to notice what's happening in his own house." Marcus. "Good, 'cause I'm not done with you yet." "Tonight?" Savannah. "Can't, he's home, tomorrow afternoon. Chloe will make sure we're not interrupted." I turned off the phone and sat there as the sun set, planning my revenge. I spent the next week playing the perfect husband while documenting every detail of their betrayal. 20 years in Hollywood had taught me the value of evidence, and I was building a case that would destroy both of them. The burner phone was a gold mine. I used my tech-savvy friend Julia Chen from my early theater days to help me extract everything: photos, videos, text messages, even GPS data showing exactly when and where they'd been meeting. Julia didn't ask questions, just handed me a flash drive with enough ammunition to end 2 lives. "Whatever you're planning," she said, "make sure it's legal." "Don't worry," I told her. "I'm an actor, not a criminal." But I was learning that sometimes the difference was thinner than I'd thought. Savannah's behavior became even more brazen once she thought she was safe. She started going to yoga classes 3 times a week, always coming home flushed and satisfied in a way that made me want to vomit. Her friends began treating me with a mixture of pity and amusement that told me the affair was becoming common knowledge in our social circle. At a neighborhood barbecue that Saturday, I overheard Layla talking to another neighbor. "Poor Ethan," she was saying. "He has no idea his wife is getting the best workouts of her life from that gorgeous trainer." "Marcus?" the other woman asked. "I've seen him at the country club. He's beautiful and young and hung like a horse, from what Savannah tells us." They giggled like teenagers. I walked away before I did something I'd regret. That night, I confronted Savannah directly for the first time. "How's Marcus?" I asked as she came out of the shower. She froze for just a second, then smiled. "Fine, I think. Why?" "Just wondering. You spend a lot of time with him." "He's my trainer, Ethan. That's what trainers do." "Right." I sat on the bed watching her get dressed. Funny thing, though, I called the gym yesterday to schedule a session for myself. They said they don't have a Marcus Johnson on staff. Her hand stilled on her robe. "He's freelance." "Ah, that explains it." She turned to face me, and for a moment, I saw a flicker of fear in her eyes. "What are you trying to say, Ethan?" "Nothing, just making conversation." But the seed was planted. Over the next few days, I watched her become more paranoid, more careful. She started taking her phone with her everywhere, even to the bathroom. Too little, too late. I began my campaign of strategic gossip, feeding carefully selected information to the right people. Tasha Williams, Savannah's jealous friend, was particularly receptive to hints about the affair. Within a week, I could see the whispers spreading through our social circle like wildfire. The first real confrontation came at Marcus's gym. I'd done my research. He rented space at a high-end fitness center in Beverly Hills, catering to actors, models, and trophy wives with too much time and money. I showed up on a Thursday afternoon when I knew Savannah would be there. The gym was all chrome and mirrors, the kind of place where people went to be seen working out rather than actually getting fit. I spotted them immediately, Savannah on a yoga mat while Marcus adjusted her form, his hands lingering on her hips longer than necessary. I walked over casually as if I'd just happened to be in the neighborhood. "Honey," I called out. "What a surprise." Savannah's face went white. Marcus straightened up, and I got my first good look at him. Handsome in an obvious way, with the kind of sculpted physique that screamed steroids and protein powder. Younger than I'd expected, probably closer to 28 than 32. "Ethan," Savannah stammered, "what are you doing here?" "Thought I'd check out this place. Maybe sign up for some sessions." I extended my hand to Marcus. "You must be the famous Marcus Johnson." He shook my hand, his grip deliberately firm. "That's right, you're Savannah's husband." "I am indeed. She talks about you all the time." "Does she?" His smile was cocky, challenging. "Oh, yes. She says you're very thorough." The double meaning hung in the air between us. Savannah looked like she wanted to disappear. "Well," Marcus said, "I believe in giving my clients exactly what they need." "I bet you do." We stared at each other for a long moment. Then I clapped him on the shoulder, a little harder than necessary. "Keep up the good work, son. My wife's satisfaction is very important to me." I kissed Savannah on the cheek and walked away, leaving them both shaken. That night, Savannah was quiet at dinner. Chloe kept glancing between us, sensing the tension. "Everything okay?" Chloe asked. "Fine," Savannah said quickly. "Your father just surprised me at the gym today." "That's nice. Dad never exercises." "Thanks for the vote of confidence," I said dryly. After Chloe went to bed, Savannah cornered me in my study. "What was that about today?" "What was what about?" "Don't play games with me, Ethan. That little performance at the gym." I looked up from my script. "I was being friendly. Meeting your trainer. Isn't that what husbands do? You were marking territory." "Was I? Interesting interpretation." She stared at me for a long moment, then shook her head. "You're being paranoid. And it's not attractive. Neither is lying to your husband." "I'm not lying about anything. Aren't you?" We looked at each other across the room, and I saw the exact moment she decided to go on the offensive. "You know what your problem is, Ethan? You're insecure, your career's stalling, or you're getting older, and instead of dealing with your own issues, you're creating problems that don't exist." It was a good strategy. Gaslighting 101. Make the victim question their own perceptions. "You're probably right," I said mildly. "I should focus on my own problems." She relaxed slightly. "Exactly. We're fine, Ethan. We've always been fine. Of course we are." But we weren't fine, and we both knew it. The next morning, I found my car keyed in the driveway. 4 deep scratches along the driver's side, spelling out "back off." Subtle, Marcus. Real subtle. I called the police and filed a report. making sure to mention that I'd had a confrontation with a stranger at a gym the day before. The officer took photos and gave me a case number. Then I called my insurance company, my lawyer, and finally a private investigator. If Marcus wanted to play games, I'd show him what a professional actor could do with a good script and unlimited motivation. The war had officially begun. The private investigator I hired was a former LAPD detective named Sarah Martinez. She was expensive, discreet, and had a reputation for getting results without breaking laws. "Your wife is having an affair," she told me after 3 days of surveillance. "I've got photos, video, GPS tracking of their meetings. The trainer's real name is Marcus Johnson, but he's got a record. Attack, fraud, couple of restraining orders from previous clients." She slid a folder across her desk. "He's done this before. Targets wealthy married women, seduces them, then either blackmails them or tries to break up their marriages for financial gain." I flipped through the photos. Savannah and Marcus entering hotels, leaving restaurants, kissing in parking lots. My wife looked happier in these pictures than she had in years. "There's more," Sarah said. "Your daughter's involved. She's been acting as their lookout, covering for them, even booking hotel rooms on her credit card." That hurt worse than anything else. Chloe had been my little girl, my pride and joy. Now she was actively helping destroy our family. "What do you want to do with this information?" Sarah asked. "I want to destroy them both, legally and completely." "I can work with that." The plan we developed was elegant in its simplicity. Instead of confronting them directly, we'd let them destroy themselves publicly. Step 1 was Marcus's wellness retreat. He'd been promoting it on his Instagram for weeks. A weekend retreat in Malibu for health-conscious individuals seeking transformation. 50 people had signed up at $500 each. Savannah was helping him organize it, using her social connections to attract clients. What they didn't know was that I'd been anonymously tipping off gossip bloggers about the affair for weeks. By the time the retreat weekend arrived, half the attendees were there, more for potential drama than for wellness. I showed up uninvited on Saturday afternoon, just as Marcus was leading a meditation session on the beach. 50 people sitting cross-legged in the sand while he talked about finding your authentic self. I waited until he finished, then approached with a big smile and a wireless microphone I'd borrowed from a friend's sound equipment rental. "Marcus," I called out loudly. "There you are." He looked up, startled. Savannah, who'd been helping with registration, went pale. "Ethan," she hissed. "What are you doing here?" "Supporting my wife's business ventures," I said, turning on the microphone. "Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to thank you all for supporting my wife Savannah and her partner Marcus in this wonderful retreat." The crowd murmured, sensing drama. Several people pulled out their phones. "In fact," I continued, "I think you should all know just how dedicated Marcus is to his clients. He provides very personal, very intimate service. Some might say he goes above and beyond the call of duty." "Ethan, stop," Savannah pleaded. But I was just getting started. I pulled out my phone and connected it to the portable speaker system Marcus had set up for the meditation. I thought you might all enjoy hearing some testimonials about Marcus's techniques. The first audio clip was Savannah moaning Marcus's name. The second was her describing in graphic detail what she wanted him to do to her. The crowd erupted. Some people laughed. Others looked shocked. A few started recording everything. Marcus lunged for the speaker, but I'd anticipated that. As he reached for it, I triggered the backup plan. The resort's sprinkler system, which Sarah had helped me access earlier, suddenly activated. 50 people in white yoga clothes were instantly soaked. In the chaos that followed, Marcus tried to tackle me. We went down hard in the wet sand, rolling and grappling while the crowd screamed and scattered. "You son of a witch!" he shouted, swinging wildly. I ducked and came up with a handful of sand, which I threw in his face. While he was blinded, I grabbed the microphone again. "Ladies and gentlemen," I announced, "Marcus Johnson, personal trainer and professional home wrecker." Security guards finally separated us, but the damage was done. The entire incident was being live-streamed by at least a dozen people. Within hours, it would be all over social media. As I was being escorted off the property, I saw Savannah crying in the parking lot, while Marcus screamed at her about ruining his business. The retreat was a disaster. People demanded refunds, the resort threatened to sue, and Marcus's reputation as a wellness guru was destroyed overnight. But I wasn't done yet. That evening, while Savannah was still in Malibu trying to salvage the situation, I had a long conversation with Chloe. "Dad, what you did today was horrible," she said as soon as I walked in the door. "Was it? I thought I was just being honest. You humiliated Mom in front of all those people. Your mother humiliated herself. And our family, with your help." She looked away. "I don't know what you're talking about." "Don't you?" "Chloe, I know about the hotel bookings. I know about you standing guard while they screwed in our house. I know about all of it." Her face crumpled. "Dad, Why?" I asked. "That's all I want to know. Why would you help her cheat on me?" She was quiet for a long time. When she finally spoke, her voice was small. "Because she said you didn't love her anymore. She said you were just staying together for me. And that she deserved to be happy." "And you believe that?" "I don't know. Maybe. You guys never seem happy together." It was like a punch to the gut, but I kept my voice steady. "Chloe, your mother and I have problems. All marriages do. But that doesn't justify what she's done. And it definitely doesn't justify dragging you into it." "I know," she whispered. "I'm sorry." "Are you?" "Because I need to know whose side you're on, because this isn't over." She looked up at me with tears in her eyes. "What are you going to do?" "I'm going to make sure your mother and Marcus face consequences for their choices. Real consequences." "Dad, please don't do anything crazy. Don't worry, everything I'm planning is perfectly legal. But it's going to get ugly, and I need to know if you're going to keep helping her or if you're going to help me." She was quiet for a long moment. Then she reached into her purse and pulled out a small digital recorder. "I've been recording her conversations with Marcus," she said quietly. "She's been talking about taking half of everything in a divorce. She's also been talking about framing you for misuse so she can get more money." I stared at the recorder in her hand. "Why are you giving me this?" "Because what she's planning isn't just cheating, it's evil, and I can't be part of that." I took the recorder and pulled my daughter into a hug. "Thank you," I whispered. "Dad, are you going to divorce her?" "Yes. And when I do, I'm going to make sure she gets exactly what she deserves." "Which is?" I smiled grimly. "Nothing." The divorce papers were filed on Monday morning. Savannah came home from Malibu to find a process server waiting in our driveway, and reporters from 3 different gossip blogs camped outside our gate. She burst into my study, holding the papers and shaking with rage. "How dare you!" she screamed. "How dare you file first!" I looked up from my laptop calmly. "I thought you'd appreciate the efficiency. Saves you the trouble. This is insane. You can't divorce me over a trainer. I'm not divorcing you over a trainer. I'm divorcing you over adultery, fraud, and conspiracy to commit perjury." Her face went white. "What are you talking about?" I pressed play on Chloe's recorder. Savannah's voice filled the room. "If he won't agree to a reasonable settlement, we'll have to get creative. Maybe he gets rough with me one night. Maybe Chloe witnesses it. Domestic violence cases always favor the woman." Marcus's voice responded, "You think she'll go along with that? She'll do what I tell her to do. She always has." I stopped the recording and looked at my wife. Conspiracy to commit perjury, filing false police reports, fraud. Should I go on? Savannah sank into a chair, the fight going out of her. "Where did you get that?" "Does it matter? The point is, I have it, along with photos, videos, financial records, and testimony from witnesses." "What witnesses?" "Your friends, for starters. Layla was very chatty with my investigator. Apparently, she's been documenting your affair for months, thinking it was funny. She was less amused when she found out about your plan to frame me." That was a lie, but Savannah didn't know that. I watched her face cycle through emotions, fear, anger, calculation. "What do you want?" she asked finally. "I want you out of my house. I want full custody of Chloe. And I want you to disappear from my life completely." "That's not going to happen." "Actually, it is. Because if you fight me on this, I'll release everything. The photos, the videos, the recordings. Your affair with Marcus will be front-page news on every gossip site in America." "You wouldn't. Try me." She stared at me for a long moment, then laughed bitterly. "You know what? Fine. Release it all. I don't care anymore." "Really? What about Marcus? Does he feel the same way?" Her confidence wavered. "What do you mean?" "I mean his attack charges from 2019, the restraining order from his last client, the fact that he's been using a fake business license. Marcus has a lot more to lose than you do." I was bluffing about some of it, but Sarah had given me enough real information to make it convincing. "He'll disappear," Savannah said quietly. Probably. Is that what you want? To lose everything for a man who will abandon you the moment things get difficult? She didn't answer, but I could see the doubt creeping in. Here's what's going to happen, I continued. You're going to move out today. You're going to agree to my custody and financial terms, and you're going to do it quietly, without any drama or media attention. And if I don't, then I'll destroy you both, publicly, professionally, and financially. She stood up slowly, smoothing down her hair with shaking hands. I need time to think. You have until tonight. After that, I start making phone calls. She left without another word. An hour later, I heard her car pull out of the driveway. That afternoon, I did something I'd never done before. I called a press conference. My publicist thought I was insane. Ethan, you don't want this kind of attention. It'll hurt your career. My career's already hurt, but my reputation doesn't have to be. The conference was held at my lawyer's office. I'd invited reporters from the major entertainment outlets, plus a few gossip bloggers who'd been covering the story. I want to address the rumors about my marriage, I began, looking directly into the cameras. Yes, my wife and I are divorcing. Yes, she's been having an affair. And yes, I'm hurt and angry about it. The reporters scribbled furiously. But I want to make something clear, I continued. I'm not the victim here. I'm a grown man who's been married for 18 years. Marriages end, people cheat. It happens. I paused for effect. What doesn't happen, what shouldn't happen, is when someone tries to destroy their spouse's reputation and career out of greed or spite. I have evidence that my wife and her lover were planning to make false accusations against me to gain an advantage in our divorce proceedings. The room erupted with questions, but I held up my hand. I won't be releasing that evidence unless I'm forced to defend myself in court. I'm hoping we can resolve this privately and amicably, but I wanted to get ahead of any false narratives that might emerge. It was a masterful performance, even if I do say so myself. I came across as the wronged but dignified husband, taking the high road while subtly threatening to release devastating information. The story was picked up by every major entertainment outlet within hours. The narrative was exactly what I'd hoped for. Ethan Drake, beloved character actor, betrayed by scheming wife but handling it with class. Savannah's phone started ringing immediately. Her friends, her family, reporters wanting her side of the story, but she didn't answer any of them. Instead, she came home that night with Marcus. They were both drunk, both angry, and both looking for a fight. "You son of a witch!" Marcus shouted as they stumbled through the front door. "You think you can destroy my life?" I was waiting for them in the living room, along with Chloe and my lawyer, who I'd asked to be present as a witness. "Marcus," I said calmly, "good to see you again. How's the wellness business?" "Forget you!" He lunged at me, but he was too drunk to be coordinated. I sidestepped easily, and he crashed into the coffee table. "Marcus, stop!" Savannah screamed. "No! This whole thinks he can ruin us? I'll show him what ruin looks like." He got up and swung at me again. This time I didn't dodge. I let his fist connect with my jaw, then staggered backward dramatically. "Did everyone see that?" I asked, looking at Chloe and my lawyer. "He just attacked me in my own home." Marcus realized his mistake immediately. In front of witnesses," I continued, "while intoxicated, after making threats." My lawyer was already on his phone calling the police. "Savannah," I said, "I suggest you get your boyfriend out of here before the cops arrive, unless you want to add accessory to attack to your list of problems." She grabbed Marcus's arm. "Come on, we have to go." "I'm not done with you," Marcus shouted as she dragged him toward the door. "Yes, you are," I said quietly. "You're very done." After they left, I sat down next to Chloe, who was shaking. "Are you okay, Dad?" I touched my jaw where Marcus had hit me. It was already swelling. "I'm fine, are you?" That was scary. It was necessary. Now we have him on attack charges, which means he'll be arrested, which means he'll probably flip on your mother to save himself. Is that what you want? I looked at my daughter, this beautiful, complicated young woman who'd been caught in the middle of her parents' war. What I want is for this to be over. What I want is for us to be a family again, just the two of us. What I want is for your mother to face consequences for her choices. And Marcus? I smiled grimly. Marcus is about to discover that actions have consequences, real ones. The police arrived 20 minutes later. I gave them my statement, showed them the security footage from our cameras, and provided contact information for my witnesses. Marcus Johnson was arrested at his apartment 3 hours later. By morning, the story was everywhere. Actor's wife's lover arrested for attack. The photos of my bruised face were particularly effective. Savannah called me crying, "Ethan, please, drop the charges. Marcus didn't mean it." "He attacked me in my own home, Savannah, in front of our daughter. He was drunk, he was upset, he was violent, and now he's going to jail. Please, I'll do anything." "Anything?" "Yes. Sign the divorce papers, agree to my terms, and stay away from me and Chloe." She was quiet for a long time. Then in a small voice, "Okay, good. My lawyer will send over the final documents tomorrow." "Ethan? What?" "I did love you, once. I know, but love isn't enough when it's mixed with lies and betrayal." I hung up and looked around my house. My house now, not ours. For the first time in months, I felt like I could breathe. But I wasn't done yet. There was still one more act to this play. Marcus made bail after 2 days in county lockup, but the damage was done. His attack arrest had made national news. His business was destroyed, and his social media accounts were flooded with angry comments from former clients demanding refunds. More importantly, he was broke. The wellness retreat disaster had cost him his savings, and now he was facing legal bills he couldn't afford. That's when I made my move. Sarah Martinez had been busy while Marcus was in jail digging into his financial records. What she found was a pattern of fraud going back years. Fake credentials, forged insurance documents, unreported income from wealthy clients who'd paid him in cash. "He's been running a scam operation," she told me. "The IRS is going to be very interested in his tax returns." "What about Savannah? Is she implicated?" "Not directly, but she did help him set up some of his business accounts. And she's been paying him in cash for services that were definitely not personal training." I smiled. "How much cash?" "Over $50,000 in the past year. All unreported." "Interesting. I assume you've documented all of this? Every transaction, bank records, receipts, even photos of the cash handoffs." "Good. Send copies to the IRS, the state licensing board, and the district attorney's office." "Already done." Within a week, Marcus was facing charges for tax evasion, fraud, and operating without proper business licenses. His assets were frozen, his apartment was searched, and his remaining clients fled in droves. But the real masterstroke came when he tried to blackmail Savannah. Desperate and facing years in prison, Marcus demanded that she pay his legal fees and support him until the charges were resolved. When she refused, he threatened to release their love tapes publicly. What he didn't know was that I'd been monitoring his communications through a court-ordered wiretap related to the attack case. The blackmail attempt was recorded, transcribed, and added to his growing list of criminal charges. Savannah, meanwhile, was discovering that her social circle had completely abandoned her. Her friends, embarrassed by their association with the scandal, had stopped returning her calls. The country club had revoked her membership. Even her hairdresser had started booking her appointments at inconvenient times. She was staying in a cheap hotel in Burbank, having been forced out of our house and unable to afford anything better until the divorce was finalized. That's when I decided to twist the knife. I organized a public auction of all the gifts Marcus had given her during their affair. Jewelry, clothes, even a car he'd bought with money he'd stolen from other clients. Everything was being sold to pay his legal debts and restitution to his victims. The auction was held at a high-end gallery in Beverly Hills. I made sure it was well publicized, framing it as a charity event, with proceeds going to support domestic violence victims. The irony was delicious. Savannah showed up, of course. She couldn't stay away. I watched from across the room as she saw her gifts being displayed like evidence in a criminal trial. The diamond earrings Marcus had given her for their 6-month anniversary, the designer handbag he'd bought after their first weekend in Vegas, the tennis bracelet he'd presented her with the day after he'd keyed my car. Each item had a placard describing its significance to the case. Exhibit A, diamond earrings purchased with funds stolen from client trust account. Exhibit B, handbag bought with unreported cash income. It was humiliating and perfect. The auction drew a crowd of curiosity seekers, reporters, and genuine bidders looking for deals on luxury goods. I made sure to bid on several items myself, driving up the prices while Savannah watched in horror. The tennis bracelet went for 3 times its retail value. I bought it and immediately donated it back to the charity. Ladies and gentlemen, I announced when the auction was over, thank you for supporting victims of fraud and domestic violence. Your generosity tonight has raised over $200,000 for people who truly need it. The crowd applauded. Savannah fled. But I wasn't done with her yet. The next day, I held a press conference to announce the establishment of the Savannah Drake Foundation for Fraud Victims, funded entirely by the auction proceeds. My wife's affair caused a lot of pain, I told the cameras, but I want something good to come from this tragedy. Too many people are victimized by con artists and predators who exploit their trust and vulnerability. This foundation will help them rebuild their lives. It was a brilliant PR move. I looked magnanimous and charitable while simultaneously reminding everyone of Savannah's role in Marcus's crimes. The foundation made national news. I was interviewed on 3 different morning shows, always presenting myself as the forgiving husband who'd turned personal tragedy into public service. Savannah, meanwhile, was being hounded by reporters and process servers. The IRS had frozen her bank accounts pending an investigation into her financial relationship with Marcus. Several of his other victims had filed civil suits, naming her as a co-conspirator. She was broke, friendless, and facing potential criminal charges. That's when she made her final, desperate play. She showed up at Chloe's school trying to convince our daughter to testify on her behalf in the divorce proceedings. "Tell the judge your father was harmful and controlling," she begged. "Tell them he threatened us, that we were afraid of him." But Chloe had grown up a lot in the past few months. She'd seen her mother's true nature, and she wasn't interested in being manipulated anymore. "Mom, stop," she said. "Just stop lying." "I'm not lying. Your father is trying to destroy me. You destroyed yourself, and you tried to destroy Dad, and you tried to make me part of it." Savannah slapped her. It was the worst thing she could have done. Chloe had inherited my dramatic instincts, and she made sure the entire confrontation was recorded on her phone. The video was devastating. Savannah, desperate and unhinged, striking her own daughter while begging her to lie in court. Within hours, it was viral. The divorce was finalized a week later. Savannah got nothing. No alimony, no property settlement, no custody rights. The prenup I'd insisted on 18 years earlier had held up, and her adultery had voided even the minimal protections it might have provided. Marcus was sentenced to 5 years in federal prison for fraud and tax evasion. The attack charges were dropped as part of his plea deal, but it didn't matter. His life was over. Savannah left Los Angeles the day after the divorce was final. I heard she'd moved back to Ohio to live with her sister, but I didn't really care. I had my daughter back, my house back, and my reputation intact. But there was still one more scene to play. 6 months after the divorce was finalized, I threw a party. It was ostensibly a wrap party for the Netflix series I'd booked. The callback Rick had gotten me had turned into a recurring role that was revitalizing my career. But really, it was a celebration of my victory over Savannah and Marcus. I rented the rooftop of a trendy hotel in West Hollywood and invited everyone who mattered in my life. Industry friends, neighbors, Chloe's friends from school, even some of the reporters who'd covered my story sympathetically. The theme was new beginnings, and I'd spared no expense. Open bar, gourmet catering, a live band, and a spectacular view of the city lights. Chloe had helped me plan it, and she looked beautiful in a black cocktail dress that made her look older than her 17 years. "Are you happy, Dad?" she asked as we watched the guests arrive. "I'm getting there," I told her. "Are you?" "Yeah, I think I am." We'd been through family therapy together, working through the damage Savannah's betrayal had caused. Chloe still struggled with guilt over her role in the affair, but she was healing. We both were. The party was in full swing when they arrived. I saw them first, Savannah and Marcus, somehow together again despite everything that had happened. They looked terrible. Savannah had lost weight and aged years in the past few months. Marcus looked like a broken man, his cockiness replaced by desperate anger. They'd crashed the party, talking their way past security by claiming to be family. The rooftop fell silent as people recognized them. Phones came out immediately. Everyone wanted to record what happened next. "Ethan!" Savannah called out, her voice shrill and desperate. "We need to talk." I walked over calmly, Chloe beside me. "Savannah, Marcus, this is unexpected." "You destroyed us," Marcus snarled. "You destroyed everything." "Did I? I thought you did that yourselves. You set us up. That whole thing at the retreat, the attack charges, all of it. I defended myself and my family. If that destroyed you, maybe you should have made better choices." Savannah stepped forward, and I could see she was drunk. "Ethan, please. I know you hate me, but Marcus doesn't deserve this. He's lost everything." "Has he? That's unfortunate. Please, I'm begging you. Call off your lawyers, drop the civil suits, give us a chance to start over." The crowd was watching in fascination. This was better than any reality show. "Savannah," I said gently, "you made your choice. You chose him over me, over our family, over our daughter. You chose to lie, cheat, and steal. These are the consequences. I made a mistake. You made dozens of mistakes for over a year, and you tried to frame me for domestic violence to cover them up." Marcus lunged at me then, just as he had in my house months earlier. But this time I was ready. I sidestepped his clumsy attack and grabbed his wrist, using his own momentum to send him crashing into a table of champagne glasses. The crowd gasped and scattered as glass shattered everywhere. "Security!" I called out calmly. But Marcus wasn't done. He got up, hurt and cut from the glass, and charged me again. This time I didn't dodge. I let him tackle me, and we went down together in a tangle of limbs. But while Marcus was swinging wildly, I was thinking tactically. I got him in a headlock and held him while security guards rushed over. "Ladies and gentlemen," I announced to the crowd as the guards pulled Marcus off me, "Marcus Johnson, convicted felon and homewrecker." The crowd actually applauded. Marcus was dragged away, screaming threats and obscenities. Savannah tried to follow him, but I caught her arm. "Don't," I said quietly. "Don't make this worse than it already is." She looked at me with tears streaming down her face. "I loved you once, Ethan. Doesn't that mean anything?" "It means everything," I said. "That's why this hurts so much." "Then forgive me, please." I looked at this woman I'd been married to for 18 years, this stranger who'd shared my bed and raised my daughter and betrayed me in the cruelest possible way. "I do forgive you," I said, "but I'll never trust you again. And I'll never let you hurt me or Chloe again." Security escorted her to the elevator. As the doors closed, she looked back at me one last time. "I'm sorry," she mouthed. I nodded and turned back to my guests. The party resumed, but the energy had changed. People were energized, excited by the drama they'd witnessed. I was the hero of the story, the wronged man who'd fought back and won. Rick found me at the bar an hour later. "Heck of a party," he said. "Heck of a year. You know this is going to be all over the internet by morning, right?" "I'm counting on it." "And your career?" I smiled. "My career's never been better. Nothing sells like a good revenge story." He laughed. "You're a cold son of a witch, Ethan Drake. I'm a survivor." Later, as the party wound down, Chloe and I stood at the edge of the rooftop, looking out over the city. "Do you think we'll ever see her again?" she asked. "Probably not. And that's okay. I feel bad for her sometimes. That's because you're a good person. But feeling bad for someone doesn't mean you have to let them hurt you. What about Marcus? Marcus will be in prison for the next 4 years. After that, he'll be someone else's problem." We stood in comfortable silence for a while, watching the lights of Los Angeles twinkle below us. "Dad? Yeah? I'm proud of you. For fighting back. For not letting them win." I put my arm around my daughter and pulled her close. "We didn't just fight back, sweetheart. We won." The last guests left around midnight. As the cleaning crew began breaking down the party, I stood alone on the rooftop, savoring my victory. Savannah was gone, broke and disgraced. Marcus was a convicted felon facing years more legal trouble. I had my daughter, my career, and my self-respect. Most importantly, I'd learned something about myself. I wasn't just an actor playing roles other people had written for me. When it mattered, when everything was on the line, I could write my own script, and I'd given it a perfect ending. I walked to the edge of the rooftop one last time, looking down at the city that had been the stage for my greatest performance. "Break a leg, Savannah," I whispered into the night wind. "You'll need it." Then I turned and walked away, leaving the past behind me forever. Thunder rumbled in the distance as storm clouds gathered over the Hollywood hills. But I wasn't worried about the rain. After all, the show was over.